With so much to do, it can be hard to keep track of what needs to be done and by when. There's a great tool that's completely free that can help you. The tool is Storyboard within Fleet Planner. My name is Barry Hodge and I am the project management expert within Fleet Planner, and in this video I am going to show you how to use Storyboard within Fleet Planner. You can access Storyboard by clicking over here on the left hand column where it says To Do, and once you do that you'll come to this screen and you'll see 4 columns: proposal, to do, doing and done. And under each of these columns you have some tasks, and we'll come on to in this video how to create tasks, how to group them, prioritize them and give them deadlines. So the first thing we've got to do is click on create task, and what we're going to do is we're going to create one within this proposal column. So we're going to simply click on create task and it brings up a new box. You can see new task up here. And later on in the video we're going to come on to Epic and what that means. But the first thing we're going to do is type in the title of our task. Now for this video what we're going to do is we're going to do a FORS accreditation series of tasks. So we're going to put in our first task for that, which is reviewing transport policies and procedures. So we're just going to pop that in there. Next you'll see the priority, which we've put low, and we come on later in the video as to why you might change that. And then the status. This is which column is it sitting within. So we clicked on the create task within the proposal section, so that's why proposal is pre-populated. We can go in here and change it to do if we wish, or we can do it another way, and we'll come on to later in the video how you can move tasks within the various columns. Now as you can see, these 3 have asterisks. They have the asterisks next to them. This means you have to fill this in to create the task. When they don't have an asterisk, such as the next one down, deadline, you don't have to fill this in to create your task. And you can come in at a later point and add in deadlines should you wish to. And we'll actually come on later in the video into why you would add deadlines to tasks. Then you've got the assign, so you can assign it to people. And then you have a description. So this is where you could add a bit more information. So at the moment you've got simply up here review transport policies and procedures. Well, in here you could actually say what we want you to do is create written policies and procedures. Oops, we will spell that correctly. There we go. The box underneath the description is a warning message. Now this is really good. This enables you to highlight a significant risk to the company. So for example, if a task isn't done by a certain date, then something of significant impact to the company will happen. So a good example would be if something's to expire, like insurance or something. If you don't renew your insurance by a certain date, the company won't have any insurance. So it's a great way to highlight to the person when you assign it to them this warning message if appropriate. The final part in the create task is simply putting in here how much time you think this task will need. So we're going to put 1 day in for our task. Now there's a really good point down here which is worth mentioning. If you find that you think, well, this task is more than 3 days, have a think about, can you break it into smaller tasks? It's far better to have lots of smaller tasks than one big task for various reasons. One, from a simple motivational perspective, it can be quite daunting to have a really big task that takes so long to complete, whereas you can actually see progress. If you complete various little tasks along the way, you can actually feel good about the progress being made, and it also enables you to track progress. So if you're not the person doing the task, you can actually track it and see how much how much progress they're making on their task and how much effort's remaining. So have a real good think. If it's more than 3 days, look at splitting it down. It's really good practice to do that. That's it. And all you need to do then is simply click over here on the add, and that will create your task for you. And there we go. You can see our newly created task just up here. And that's how easy it is to simply create a task within Storyboard. There are a couple of other ways that you can actually create tasks within Storyboard as opposed to just clicking the create task here. One of the ways is you can import a task. So you can, if you click here on the import, what you can see is the example file. So you download this and you fill it in. So let's have a quick look at this. So as you can see, you've got it in a column form. You simply would just edit this and then you would simply re-upload it. So if we go back to our Fleet Planner, you would then just simply click here to choose the file that you've edited and upload it and hit save. There's always more work to do than there is time to complete them all. Therefore, it's critical to prioritise and do the most important tasks first. And also, those tasks that have deadlines, make sure they're done before the deadline. So within Storyboard, it's actually really easy to assign priority for a task and also assign deadlines. And what we're going to do is we're going to quickly look at this review transport policies and procedures, and we're going to change the priority and we're going to add a deadline. So before we go into this task, I just want you to make a note of these 3 stars here. You can see on all of these tasks, these 3 stars are all white, they're all blank. And I want you to remember that because we're going to have a look at how that changes as we assign a priority. So going into this task, we click here. This is the edit function for the task, so we're going to click on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the priority on this drop down to medium, and we're going to hit save. And look what's happened over here. We've now got one of the stars coloured in. So this now tells us this is a medium priority task because there's only 1 star coloured in, as opposed to this has none of the stars coloured in, so therefore it's a low priority task. So let's go back into that task again. And we're going to assign it a high. Now I want you to have a look at what happens when we try and hit save with a high priority task. We get this. It won't let us save because we need to assign it a deadline date. So that's a really good indicator for your task prioritization. So if a task doesn't have a date when it needs to be completed by, it's not going to be high priority, it's not going to be critical, but it might need to be done. So those type of tasks are going to be low or medium. Then you're going to have tasks with definite deadline dates, and depending on the severity of the task, it will be high or critical. The difference between high and critical, it comes down to the risk to the company. So if this task isn't done by a certain time, there is a risk attached to that, it's therefore critical. A high priority task is something that needs to be done by a certain date, but there isn't the same risk element to the company as a critical task. So that's the difference between those two. So for a high task, what we're going to do is we're going to just assign it a date, and we're going to hit save. And then we go back and we can have a look. And we can see that our star rating is now 2 coloured in. So we know this is a high priority task. And we can see that deadline date has been put in there. So you can see at the top level, before you go into the task, the priority and the deadline. So you can see this information at a glance. Now, when we go back in again, and we want to, this time, we want to change it to critical. So we already have our deadline date, but look what happens when we hit save this time. The warning message is highlighted. This is because we've said this is a critical task. Therefore, there must be a risk. So it prompts us that we need to put in there is a risk. So we're going to type in here, there is a risk, quite simply, and we're going to hit save. Now you can see that the stars have gone up to 3 and we still have that deadline date in there. And that is how to simply and quickly assign a priority to a task, put a deadline to a task, and to be able to clearly see at this top level how the level of priority for each of the tasks. One of the elements that we covered earlier in the video was about breaking tasks down into their smallest parts. So if a task was more than 3 days, typically we want to try and break that down into smaller tasks. What we can see here is how we can then group the tasks, and I want to just show you that. So if we scroll down, we see lots of the tasks that I've created earlier, and there's lots of these review fleet documents tasks. So you can see one here, another one for MOT, vehicle tax, additional equipment, and all of these are fleet document tasks. So what would be really good is to group them so we can see at a glance all of the fleet documents once. So what we're going to do is again, we click on the task and we click on the edit icon. And we're going to use this part here, which is called the epic. So we're going to use the epic name. And what epic means is simply the way we're going to group them. So they're given an epic name. So R1 is, as you can see, there's a couple here that have already popped up. And those are from the ones that have already been created. But we're going to do the review the fleet documents as our epic name for this task. And hit save. Now when we scroll down to that task, we can see there's a colour coding of the pink here, and you can see the system setup in green and the vehicle walk around check in red. Those are the ones that popped up before. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some more. So where do we have some fleet document ones? We go in, click on it. Now we actually have the option to simply select. So we don't have to keep typing it to remember the name again. So we can do that, hit save. And now what we can see is those two tasks are now grouped together. So let's add the other ones in. So we've got the complete set. And we're going to simply click here, epic, and save. One more. So it was this one. We're going to select the review and hit save. And then we can now see all of those tasks have been grouped together, and it's as easy as that to quickly group and see all of those tasks that are grouped together. And that is how you group tasks, by giving them an epic name. Now that you've created your tasks, assigned deadlines and prioritization, the next thing you need to do is assign someone to actually do the task. So let's take this review and complete risk assessments task. We'll click on it and then we'll click the edit icon. And the bit we're interested in is the assign to. And what we can do is we can click here and we can see some of the people already. So you can see I've been added there, and we have John Smith added as well. And to add a new user, all we simply do is click here and we fill in their name, phone number, email address and their password, and we click add user. Now what you can see here in the status column is active and inactive, and what that means is for someone to be assigned a task they need to be active, and to do that they need to have confirmed their email address. So if we go back to our to do and we click on our task again, we can see here it says user needs to be active to appear on this list. So at the moment I'm the only active user on this demonstration, so we can simply assign the task to me and we can hit save. And now you can see up here that this task is assigned to me. So again, very quickly at a high level you can see priority, deadline, you can see who it's assigned to, and also if it's been grouped into an epic you can see up here where it's color coded. So that is how to assign people to complete tasks. The final thing to cover is completing of the tasks and moving them between the various columns. So we've been predominantly in this proposal column, and we have some tasks in the to-do. And the idea of the columns is you select your task. So in this case we've got review transport policies and procedures. We select that task and we drag it, and you can see that goes green as it's in the to-do. Now if we're doing this task, then we move it across to the doing. And if we've done a task, so let's say we've done this task, we move it across and we put it in the done column. Now, one of the things to point out is, can you see the deadline here is red? That's because the deadline date has passed. So that's showing as it still needs to be done, so it flags red. But if I move this to the done column, watch what happens. You can see that date is now no longer highlighted red because it's complete, so it's therefore just blue. So it gives us that information, but it doesn't give us the red. Now what you can also do is you can also export the tasks that are, particularly those that are being done. And this is a great way to document or report on progress, particularly for compliance issues. And again, dead easy to do. You simply hit the export button, select your date range, so we can say the end of the month, we can do the done tasks, and we can hit print, and that's it. that will now put that into a Word document for us.